Ambassador Baseball Show. My name is Cole Cleveland, and I'm the director of the Oklahoma City Ambassadors. We're joined today by my son, Duke. Duke, can you say hi?
Hi.
Duke is so excited to be a part of the podcast today, and we're going to ask him a few questions to get started. So, first of all, Duke, how old are you?
I'm 5 years old.
And you play on the 8-year-old team, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, who is your favorite coach on the 8-year-old team? Oh, this is going to be a good one. Uh-oh. Coaches, he's really pondering this one. And it is?
Coach Trent.
Coach Trent. Very good. Nice job. He wanted me to press that button, Trent, so there you go. Duke, what has been your favorite part of the season so far?
I liked the tournament.
The tournament? How come? What was your favorite part of the tournament?
Because we got to spread the gospel more than usual.
Oh, wow. Well, that's exciting. Yes, that is a good reason to like the tournament. Hey, that was a good answer. Awesome. Okay, so in our verses here, Proverbs 3, 1 through 8, and now we're going to go 9 and 10. What's your favorite verse that we have memorized so far?
I like the second one.
Let not steadfast love.
Yes.
That one? Can you recite it for us?
Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you, but bind them around your neck and write them on the tablet of your heart, so that you may find favor and good success in the sight of God and men. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your path.
Good. Okay, so what did you like about that second one? You said that was your favorite. What's your favorite about it? You just like it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I like the idea of binding around your neck and writing them on the tablet of your heart. I think that's really important for us to remember. Well, today we are adding in 2 verses to Proverbs chapter 3. I'm going to read them to us. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. There's much in these 2 verses to understand about obedience to the Lord, living for the Lord, walking by faith, and we're going to condense it down as best we can. This is not a primary text whenever you're talking about a theology of giving or an understanding of why you should be a giver, but this is definitely a go-to subtext. It's a supporting text, and let's dive into this to understand what the proverb is. Okay, so this is proverbial for us to understand. Notice that at the end of verse 1, the general promise is length of days, years of life, and peace will be added to you. At the end of verse 3, so this is 3 and 4, there's another general promise. You'll find favor and good success in the sight of God and men. In verse 6, there's another general promise. Your path will be straight. In verse 8, there's another general promise. It'll be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. And then here in verse 10, we have another general promise, and it's that your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will be bursting with wine. None of these are guarantees, and none of these are going to promote a health and wealth gospel. That's why we have meticulously worked through each of the sets of verses so that we can better understand the general promise that God gives, the general blessing that God gives. And this one right here, these 2 verses right here, are very misconstrued as a health and wealth type of false gospel. And I want to make clear what's being taught here. So first of all, we have the instruction, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all of your produce. Okay, so the first word, honor. Honor is, okay, so let's go to the 10 Commandments and think about what this means. So honor your mother and your father, right? That's the command, honor your mother and your father. And then in the New Testament, we have Paul writing in Ephesians and Colossians specifically to the children to obey their parents in the Lord, for this is right. So honor and obedience are similar, but they're not the same. So obedience to from a child to a parent, it's referring to in the Greek the teknon, which means the child. It is one who is under the care of, under the provision of, and it's specifically talking like a child. I mean, from a parent to a child, or from a grandparent to a child to a grandchild. That's saying you need to honor your mom and dad, or sorry, you need to obey your mom and dad, and that obedience that is specifically instructed to children is obedience, and it should be a loving obedience, and it should be a grateful obedience. But it is obedience nonetheless. It's obedience that sometimes children don't fully understand, but yet they need to obey their parents. Sometimes children don't understand why they need to do what they need to do, and yet they're commanded to obey their parents. Not that they just have to do it blindly, because parents, we should do a good job of walking our children through, helping them understand, but they are to obey nonetheless. Honor, okay, so go a step further, to honor your parents. So this comes to adult children now. So we are to always honor our mother and father. That doesn't go away. Obedience goes away, but the instruction or command for obedience is to the teknon, is to the child. But honor is always carried through. I mean, even beyond your parents passing, you should still be honoring your mother and father. So what does that mean? You can't obey them, right? I'm 35 years old, and I'm not looking at my parents like I'm a child in obedience, but I do want to honor my mother and father. So what this has to do, it is tied very closely with the word splendor, the word similar to the word glorify in the Hebrew. Okay, so when we worship the Lord in the splendor of His holiness, so what this is referring to is like a weightiness. So when you honored a king, or when you worshipped a king, or when you bowed down to a king, when you respected a king, he was what was called weighty. Okay, so you worshiped him in the splendor of his holiness. This is the weightiness of his holiness. So a king that had more wealth, a king that had acquired more land and property and armies and all that, he would wear more garments. He would, quite literally, he would be heavier because he would have more clothing on, heavier clothing on. He would have more jewelry on. He would have more crowns on, and he would quite literally be heavier. And so that he was a weighty king. And so when we worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness, we recognize his weightiness. We recognize his splendor, the fact that he owns all and he is sovereign over all, and he has the majesty. He's majestic in his the robes and the garments and his jewelry. And so that's what that means. Well, the word honor is similar. It's tied to that understanding. And when we honor our mother and father, we honor them by recognizing the weightiness that they had in our life, the shaping that they had in our life. And we make known to the world the goodness of our parents. We definitely do not slander them. We definitely do not drag their name through the mud. We honor their name, and we honor the effort that they have put in to raise their children and to work hard and to trust the Lord. Okay, now carry that all the way in to honor the Lord with your wealth. Okay, so now the same with honor here. We're recognizing who God is, and specifically, we're to honor the Lord with our wealth and our first fruit. So it's a command. So we honor, which means it brings in obedience. So it's an obedience, but this is now an obedience of the heart. It's an obedience of of love, and it's an obedience of satisfaction, which we'll get to in the backside of this in verse 10. But we are honoring the Lord with our wealth. Okay, so we are obeying the Lord with our wealth. We are not slandering him with our wealth. We are making his name known with our wealth. We are making his name look great with our wealth. We are making his way, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, the life, everything that he is and everything he has done for us. We're making that. We are honoring God with the possessions that we have. So specifically, we're honoring the Lord with our wealth here first. Your wealth, the money that you have, is not your own. It's a gift of God. It has been granted to you to steward on this earth. And that stewardship is a part of your sanctification. So if you're a believer in Christ, then you understand that every asset that you've been given by God is yours to steward, and the decisions that you make with those assets is a part of your sanctification. And as you grow more and more in that, you will be more convicted with how you're spending your money, how you're using your assets. And are you using them for the Lord? Are you using them to build the kingdom? Are you using them to, specifically here, to honor the Lord? Now, that's the wealth, that's the general idea. Then there is a specific instruction to honor the Lord with your first fruits. So this goes beyond the idea of just making sure that I'm using my money, my assets, my resources, which, by the way, are not mine. They were given to me by God. But to make sure that I'm using those assets, I'm stewarding them well to honor the Lord. So I honor the Lord by taking care of my children. I honor the Lord by providing for my family. I honor the Lord by making sure they have shelter. I honor the Lord by making sure that I'm feeding my children. I honor the Lord by making sure that we are giving to the Lord. We're supporting the local church. We are furthering the gospel. All those ways honors the Lord. But now go further, and I'm honoring the Lord with my first fruits, the first fruits of my produce. So this is of course, in farming, this is what we're referring to. So when they had crop that yielded, the idea here, and we're talking about Old Testament law, the idea here on the first fruits was that the first fruits that came up, the first crops that came up, you gave them to the Lord. And it was a recognition of quality, quantity, and faithfulness, okay? So quality, you were giving not just some of your fruits, but you were giving the best. You were giving the best crop. You were giving God the very best, not just something, not just the leftovers. So it's not just get all the way through the season, the farming season, see what crop I have left over that I can give to God. Okay, yeah, I'm going to give this to God. No, that wasn't it. It was to give God the first and to give him the best. And this is true not only with our wealth, but this is true with our lives, with our time, with our energy, with our focus, with our parenting. I mean, think about this. You don't want to give your children what's left over after work. You want to give your children of yourself the first and the best. That's what they deserve, and that honors the Lord with your first fruits, with your time. The same is true in money, that we give to God, we honor God with the very first and the very best. Secondly, when we're talking about so that's quality, we're talking about quantity. We're talking about an entire first yield here. It's not, I'm going to take, I think I can give up these. No, it's a quantity that I'm trusting the Lord with. So this walks into faithfulness, that the reason that this is instruction to give of your first, because then you're waiting on the next yield, okay? You are trusting that God is going to provide. This is huge. This is massive when it comes to giving. Giving is not legalism. Giving is trusting God. It's a practice. It's a physical practice of taking the thing that we value most in this world, which is money, our wealth, our assets, things that we think we've earned. Somehow God's given us grace and mercy and forgiveness, but somehow we've earned our own car. We've earned our own house. We've earned our own money. No, God grants us everything. He allows us to steward all the assets that he gives us on this earth. And so we give of him our first, we give him our best, we give him all that we have, and we do that in faithfulness to trust him, because we are trusting that he's going to provide for everything else that we need. And this is incredible, an incredible practice of faithfulness, that he is going to provide the rest of it. Just real quick, I want to hit verse 10. We'll get back to it on Thursday. But here's the general promise. Your barns will be filled with plenty. Your vats will be bursting with wine. So your barns being filled with plenty, this, of course, is talking about their cattle. Notice it doesn't say, and you will become a multi-billionaire if you do this. This isn't health and wealth. This is instead promise of sufficient provision from God, that their barns will be filled with plenty, meaning that you will have all that you need. God's going to provide what you need. Your barns will be filled with plenty. You're not going to give to the Lord and then go and be homeless. The general promise here is, if you give God your first, you give him your best, you give him your all, then, and you're trusting as you're walking, that God, the general promise here is that God will provide. And this is the hard one for us to walk out in this life. And then lastly, here's the last one, that your vats will be bursting with wine. So when we're talking about wine in Proverbs and Psalms, we're talking about joy and satisfaction. And so what this is referring to is that your joy will be full. So many times we chase money, we chase assets, we chase the building of our own personal kingdom here, and we never can have enough. We never can get enough. We're never joyful. We're never satisfied. Right? I mean, in Proverbs, it even talks about that. But when you give God your first, you give him your best, you give him your all, and you trust him, you trust his faithfulness to provide, your joy will be full. And it doesn't matter what the quantity is that he provides. It doesn't matter what it is that he provides. You find satisfaction in him and in him alone. And so that is why, that's why we find joy in him, because we're satisfied in what he has provided to us, no matter what that is. And so here we have verses 9 and 10, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. Great verse to memorize, parents. Really great exercise, great practice to demonstrate to your children is they should see you give to the local church. They should see you. They should see what it looks like for you to give of your first fruits. So yes, great verse to memorize, but let me encourage you. Remember, Duke's favorite verse here was to bind them around your neck and write them on the tablet of your heart. We're talking about the commands of God, the teaching of God. This is a teaching of God. This is a command of God to honor the Lord with your wealth and with your first fruits. And so, parents, for you to bind this around your neck is for you to demonstrate this, to walk this out. And so I would encourage you to do that. Take that to heart. Don't just memorize this with your children, but also walk it out, that they might see an example of what this looks like. Duke, did you have anything else to add to our podcast today?
No.
Did you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay. Did you want me to press that one button? Okay. Sorry, Duke wants me to press one more button, so we're going to leave you with this one right here. We'll see you at practice tonight. Can you say bye?
Bye.